Didn't you used to put this on Facebook, Ryan?
Yeah, I used to use OBS for Facebook.
Okay. Okay,
But
that's it then.
Zoom links automatically with YouTube, so. That's an interesting name.
Can't find my mouse. Never mind. I found it.
I think it's a credit card number. Quick, write it
Yeah.
down.
Greetings, 327-324. Who is that there? Can you let me know who you are?
He's connecting to his audio, so.
Okay.
Club 33 out of Disneyland. Becky going to be on tonight?
She's supposed to be.
Oh, okay. That explains that.
Still connecting with his audio. Anybody recognize the bottom or?
327, no.
Yeah. Nor do I recognize the person standing behind him.
Nope.
Can you
Anybody?
send a chat message to him?
Yeah.
He can, we can't.
You should be able to.
Oh, wait, there it is. Okay. I didn't find that before. Where'd he go? Oh, wait, there he is. You got a helper bee to come help him.
Turn into something beautiful. Then it turned into a nightmare. Almost lost it. Guys saved my life.
Hey, Don.
Oh, hey, good evening. Let me turn the TV down.
West stopped it. West putting brakes on it between the two of you.
Okay. Ian from McBride. See
Okay.
those?
Oh, and Sophie too. Oh, okay. Good. Both of them. So I don't know if they're going to put their cameras on though.
Yeah, he's having trouble with audio.
You saying Ian from McBride?
He said Ian Jodway, Jodway, McBride High School.
Huh. Oh, McBride. I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking Sato.
Don't get your schools mixed up.
Yeah, sometimes it's not easy.
I recall I get from Afghanistan and praying to God that it's not that. She is not an opportunity that a lot of the kids
Can you hear now? Yeah. That's it.
I need to go make a phone call. I'll be right back.
Yep.
I can hear it's in my headphones.
And we can hear you guys. Thank you for letting me know who you are.
I'm changing my name.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome, Bill.
Hey, good evening. I'm going to change my background. Are we the only two here?
No, there's 19 participants so far.
Oh. Okay. I couldn't find the address.
Did Becky not send it out?
I found it finally. I just sent her an email, but I just found it.
Okay.
Oh, that's ugly. That's ugly. Good evening, Robert.
Good evening, Mr. Bill, and how are you this evening?
I'm ready to go to bed.
Oh, well,
We got up this morning and sent my daughter and her husband to Canada. So
that was a heck of a terrible thing to do to those poor people. I mean, you know.
they get to see the Aurora Borealis that we don't get to see.
That's true.
You sure got back quick for taking them there.
Hey, Bill, this is Neil. I didn't know the border was open, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, when did that happen? I thought it was like shut down.
Hi, Sophie. His mom was up there.
Mr. Sherwood.
Yeah, there you go. Neil. Neil, his mom was up there last week, and she just got back, so now he's going up there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There we go. My problem.
Oh, we got a pretty good crowd tonight.
Yeah.
Greetings, everyone.
Guten Abend.
Hey, Becky.
Welcome, everyone. My volume up. Sorry, I'm a little tardy.
Becky,
Yes.
I'm sorry I missed the meeting Monday, but I just got back from Arizona and my schedule and everything was kind of messed up. So I forgot.
Okay. Yep, that happens.
Just flew in from Arizona, and boy, are your arms tired.
Yeah.
And I just sent you an email about me missing the meeting too.
Okay, yeah, I just got that.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, okay, it's 7:02 and you're already streaming. Is that correct, Ryan?
Yep. And
Okay.
I'll go ahead and if you're ready, I'll start the recording and the spiel.
Yep.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this Zoom meeting is recorded for archival purposes for the ARALB. If you don't want your video shown or recorded, you may turn off your cameras. Please keep all language ham radio friendly, as especially tonight. Looks like we have students from the local schools with us tonight. So again, if you don't want to be recorded,
Alrighty. Thank you,
you can,
Ryan.
yep. Over to you, Becky.
Okay. Then we'll come the meeting to order at 7:03 and start off with, do we have any guests? Anybody who hasn't come before? Just introduce yourself, your name, your call sign.
My name's Josh. My name, call sign KI6NAZ. How are you?
Alrighty, good, thank you. Any other guests?
Keep going, Becky. I see 3.
I'm Isaac, K6IAS.
Isaac, good to meet you. Are you from one of the schools, the high schools?
Yeah, I'm from McBride.
Okay, well, welcome. Glad you made it. Anyone else?
I'm Liam, KN6QXK from Sato High School.
Okay, Liam, welcome. Glad you could come.
Toby.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm also from Sato Academy.
Okay.
KN6 MIF.
Good, good.
Hello, my name is Ian Jodway. I don't have a call sign. My name is Ian
Yeah.
Jodway. I do not have a call sign yet because I just joined ham radio and I'd like to know as much as I can.
Okay, well, glad you came in to check in. Any other guests? Anybody who hasn't been here for a few meetings and needs to like reintroduce themselves to us?
2 that I'm not familiar with. Carl, KK6KHO.
Carl, you've been called out. Introduce yourself. Where are you from?
It's Carl, and I've been to a couple of the meetings when they were held at the Red Cross, but I kind of come in and out.
Well, that's good. We're glad you make it in.
Yep. Thank you for joining
Glad
us
you
today.
came tonight.
Thank you.
And Jose Ramirez. Would you like to say hello?
I think he posted in chat.
Oh yeah, here it is from chat.
There we
Good
go.
evening, Jose from McBride High School.
Having microphone issues. Okay, not a problem, Jose. Glad you could make it.
2 McBrides and 2 Satos.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, that's very exciting. We have a lot of new guests. Anybody else want to introduce themselves?
I'm KF6KEE from Sato.
There's Devin. Glad to see you back.
I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Richard, N6RU from Sato.
Good,
Are you
good.
guys about to graduate?
Me? Yeah, I think so. They held me back a few hundred years.
Well, good. I'm glad everyone could come and join us, regulars and new people. So we always start with our flag salute. So Bill Bradley, you are so good and so respectful. Would you please lead us in the flag salute?
All right.
So stand if you can.
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United
States of America and to the republic
For which
it stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, and let's see. Tim Sperry, would you like to introduce our speaker tonight?
I sure would. Tonight's guest speaker, as you see, is Josh Nass. He's licensed as KI6NAZ in 2007, and he's an amateur extra. Josh is a software engineer in Southern California. He works primarily satellites and ground stations, and he began using YouTube in 2006, but he then transitioned to his own channel, the Ham Radio Crash Course, in 2018. His interests in radio are reliable off-grid voice and digital communications. And tonight's presentation, he's going to do a Winterfield Day presentation for us, and I think California style. So Josh, take it away.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate that. If everybody could mute if they're not going to ask a question, but if you want to ask a question, particularly since we do have some new hams in the house, feel free to unmute and just say, hey, or Josh, or whatever, but that'll help just move things along because we won't have the occasional dog pop in and say hello and all that fun stuff as I'm doing the talk. And by the way, congratulations to all the new hams. That's wonderful. Glad to see you out there. It sounds like McBride High School maybe have a ham club or something like that. That's really great news. Okay, so with that said, because we do have some new hams, I'm going to try and add some more flavor to this as we go. Otherwise, it's going to be it might be a little confusing. So hopefully we'll take our time with it. So Winterfield Day is a ham radio event. It's a 24-hour event, and I'll define what that means more. It's January 29th through the 30th. It's usually the last weekend of the year. This is the website. It is winterfieldday.com, And when you go there, you can find out the rules, which I recommend everybody that's going to do a contest to either have a copy of the rules on the computer that you're taking with you or using. A printed version of the rules, always really handy. If you do ARRL field day, then you probably already know this. So let's talk about Winter Field Day, Southern California style or SoCal style, because that's what I did last year and what I generally do every time I go outdoors and play ham radio. So a bit of a repeat of what I said, but it's a contest. A contest in the ham radio sense is we try between a period of time, usually a weekend is generally when these happen. We try to make as many contacts with other hams as possible. And we do that by literally, keying up our microphone and calling CQ contest. And CQ means I seek you, or I seek all callers, seek all individuals that are listening on the band. And then we have some kind of exchange of information. And that exchange of information is what allows us to have a record for our contact. So if I talk to you and you record what I tell you, and you talk to me and record what you tell, and I record what you tell me, and I log that down, and we all upload our logs online, then there's a record that our contact happened, right? And that's how we kind of verify our contacts. So for some of the new people, we're going to be talking about bands here a little bit. The bands that are used for Winterfield Day are all the amateur radio bands. So if you got your technician recently, you may not be able to use some of the high frequency HF bands, as we call them, but you can definitely explore Winterfield Day with your VHF, UHF radios, and a little bit of HF if you want to get in that space. We can talk about that as we go. Except the bands that we don't use for Winterfield Day are 12, 17, and 30. And to give a little bit of reference there, those are what we call the work bands, which is the World Administrative Radio Conference bands. These are bands that are generally never used for contesting, and it's actually kind of good in some cases, because those that don't want to participate in the contest, they can go to the work bands and still continue to do whatever it is in radio that they like to do. Also, 60 meters is a band that we are not primary users on, so that is not part of Winterfield Day. Oh, you know what? There's another note there I need to hit. Now, modes of operation, when you think of Winterfield Day, a lot of people are going to think of, using single sideband or FM. If you're using VHF, UHF radios, for instance, that's voice communications, or phone, as we often call it. But you can use generally any mode so long as you can exchange that information I referenced earlier. And I will define what that exchange of information is as we travel further along through the slide package. Just keep in mind that Winterfield Day is really about exchanging quote unquote real information. It's a little bit longer form than some of the other contests, and it'll make sense as we go along. When we activate Winterfield Day, there's some frequencies that are recommended, and I am pulling some of this information out of the rule sheet, which is again something I highly recommend that you all go download and print and use and make available when you're actually out in the contest. It does help. There are suggested frequencies for HF CW. It breaks it down by band if you are a Morse code user, or continuous wave is the mode of operation. And that covers 160 meters, 80 meters, 40 meters, 20 meters. That is 15, and that is 10. So yeah, 15 and 10. HF single sideband is generally voice again, and that's the lowest 30 kilohertz of the US general class phone bands. So if you are a new ham but went straight to general, that's going to be right at the lower edge of the band before it ventures into the extra portion of the band. And again, we operate 160 through 15 meters, and then on 10 meters, we use 20.400 and 28.425 megahertz. So just keep that in mind. And then 6 meters VHF and UHF, which would be considered the higher frequency bands, you can generally use the simplex frequencies. So good tip for people starting out that are new. If you are interested in trying Winterfield Day, take your handy talkie and type in the frequency 146.520 megahertz. That is the national calling frequency for 2 meters, which is a very popular band. Again, reminder for the rules, the link is there. So what is it? It's playing radios outdoors during the winter. That's what Winterfield Day is, kind of in a nutshell. The kind of common goal with Winterfield Day is to encourage people to get outside, to set up their radios outside, and then get on the air, Some cases that could be difficult, a little less difficult for us in California, and make contacts, right? 24-hour period, make as many contacts as you can. And there's actually some incentives to explore different bands and play around a little bit with Winterfield Day, which we'll hit as we go along. The picture to the left is a picture I shot from my field day location, which was down in San Diego. And it was a great weekend that I brought the family down. We had a little beach house spot that we rented, a small little kind of a bungalow type thing. And it was a lot of fun. One of the primary major drivers for Winterfield Day and why it is so popular is that a lot of people who are interested in emergency communication like to use Winterfield Day as a kind of a practice event, something where if you were called upon, if you were part of one of the emergency preparedness communications teams like ARES or RACES or some of your local community groups, this is a great time to actually get your radios out, get them set up, operate on the bands, and practice how you might use the radio if it was more of an emergency situation. The exchange is the information we provide over the air. And itself, in exchanging that information, we are practicing, you're creating a situation or an environment where we are exchanging that. Again, emergency type information. Short, succinct messages that kind of get the point right across, and then get on to the next contact or get onto the next piece of information. So while it's not specifically a SoCal issue, as evident from my picture there, Winterfield Day is a challenge for those with real weather to get outdoors and make the station work. So there's plenty of pictures people post and videos on YouTube of them going out in the snow and setting up a tent that's appropriate for that cold climate, getting in their tent and then, hammering out as many contacts as they can. And that's a real challenge to do. Again, down here in SoCal, we can have a little bit more fun and it's a little easier, but still things to consider. Temperature, snow, rain, all the things you might have to work around to still make contacts. But of course, if you're going to do this, particularly with rain and whatnot, be careful that, you're not putting your antenna up in a situation where you could be in danger of a lightning strike or be adjacent to a lightning strike that could damage your radio, etc. So always be cautious. It is winter, so there will be weather that you have to contend with, and always do the right thing that's safe for you and the people you're with. All right, I hinted at the exchange. So let's take a look at the exchange and what that really is. Winterfield Day is broken down into a concept of you being outdoors, like fully outdoors, just sitting in the open. Indoors, meaning it's a structure of some kind that's maybe insulated, possibly even has a heater or some kind of, climate control type setup. And then home. You're at home. You're in your regular ham radio shack. You're comfortable. The familiar area. So there's three major categories. Now, outdoor, I want to specify outdoor includes your tent. If you're staying in a tent, if you're in a vehicle, a camper, something like that, that would be classified as outdoors. If you are under a canopy at a picnic area or a park, that counts as outdoors. Indoors is like inside a remote insulated room or something along those lines. An EOC, if you're again a part of an emergency club or you have a clubhouse, that could classify as a indoor station. And again, home is, you're literally running off of your mains power and whatnot. So different categories of operation, and Winterfield Day wants you to specify which one you are. And we use the first letter in each one of those as the identifier. So I, O, or H. And then in addition to that, we have a classification number or class number, and that's the number of stations in where you are that are capable of simultaneous transmission. So I'll show a couple radios here in a little bit on my other camera, but if you're running like a VHF, UHF handheld radio for doing 2 meters and 70 centimeter simplex, and you have an HF portable radio with you, that would be 2. You'd be 2. And then your ARRL section is literally the physical section that you are in. So we all right now are in the Los Angeles section, right? Long Beach, we're a part of the LAX section. So an example of the exchange that I might make during Winterfield Day would be Kilo India 6, 1, O, or Oscar, or outdoors LAX. And this is still going to be an exchange as well that you're going to give your receive signal strength, and they're going to reply with how they heard you as well. This is a contest, so sometimes they're still going to use 5.9, and you will experience that. And a lot of people do use 5.9 in the contest, and it's expected to go in your logs. So just keep that in mind. And again, for any of the new hams, don't feel bashful at all. Just raise your hand or unmute and say you have a question, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Doesn't bother me at all. So feel free to interrupt. Now, what's kind of cool about Winterfield Day is that we get points, right? It's a game in some cases. It's a good preparedness. It's a good practice for an emergency situation. It's a good fun time to just get outdoors and see if your radio works correctly, that you've been spending a lot of time working on, or maybe an antenna you built. And those points are accrued in different ways. You get 1 point for a phone contact, and that's where you key up the microphone, and again, you're talking, you're making that contact over single sideband or FM. You get 2 points if it is Morse code and or digital. And digital would be like using a mode of operation through your computer, where your computer connects to your radio and you can send chat messages or text or something along those lines. Digital communication or digital contacts are worth 2 points. If your contact is broken on the other end, the busted contact, as it's called, meaning I got their call sign correct and I logged what I heard into my log, but they logged something different of our exchange. That would be a busted contact. You're actually penalized 1 point. So do what you can to be as accurate as you can, but those happen. Don't feel too bad if they do happen. Duplicate contacts are just not counted, but you're not penalized. And then mode and band multipliers. So this is an interesting, fun thing with Winterfield Day, is that you get 1 multiplier for each mode operated per band. For example, right? Operating Morse code and phone on 80 meters, 40 meters, 15 meters, and 10 meters, Morse code and PSK31. PSK31 is a digital mode on 20 meters, FM on 2 meters and 440 would be a total multiplier of 12x. So you get a multiplier on the score of how many QSOs you make. That's great. And then power is a big thing. Power is a real big thing that comes up in Winterfield Day a lot, because you get a multiplier depending on how powerful your radio station is, or I should say how low powered your radio station is. If your radio is capable of transmitting over 100 watts, that's a 1x multiplier. So you're not really getting any multiplier for going over 100 watts. If it's 100 watts or less, then you're going to get 2x. And if it's QRP, and QRP is low powered transmitter, which generally is considered, I'll have to actually pull up the rules here and make sure I understand that, generally considered about 5 watts. There are some contests that appreciate that QRP is now 10 watts, and I'll clarify that as we go along and move along. So that's your multiplier. Let me go back a step. Yeah, that's your multiplier. So make sure you're picking kind of as many bands that you can operate. If you have one antenna that maybe is a multi-band antenna, or you've got a radio that can do HF and VHF, you might want to consider bringing that along with you, because you potentially can make more contacts or more multipliers and get your score up, which is a really good thing and fun. It's a fun challenge. There are bonus points. Bonus points are like, if you do your contests this way, you get extra points for free. You get 1,500 points if you use no commercial power. So you're completely doing alternate power. And your logging computer may use any available power, which I'll cover a little bit. But basically, if your radio station and everything that connects to your radio is running on alternate power, boom, you get an easy 1,500 points, which is great. You get 1,500 bonus points if your operation is outdoors, right? Defining categories like we talked about before. So if you are outdoors, 1,500 points. You get 1,500 points if your operation is not a home, right? So you're not a home operator. And you get to claim 1,500 points if you do a QSO with a satellite. Most likely that's going to be one of our FM satellites. That is a low Earth orbit satellite. There are other satellites like linear sats, but a lot of people, particularly those starting out, the ones that are a little bit more accessible are the FM satellites. So you can look those up if you're interested. And you get 1,500 points for making just one contact. You don't need to make any more. You make that one, you're good. You lock it in, you're done. So if you're operating outdoors on your back deck table more than 30 feet away from your usual station without commercial power and using a temporary antenna set up within the allowed time frame, you'd get 1,500 plus 1,500 is 3,000, which is outdoors, no commercial power, while operating in a campground or a tent using commercial power and making one satellite QSO, you'd get 15 plus 15 plus 1,500, which is around 4,500 bonus points. And note, there must be at least one valid QSO to claim all these bonus points. So if you stacked this appropriately, again, you could get like 4,500 points. You got to make one contact to get those points. They're not free points. You got to earn them by doing at least one contact. But it could be that satellite contact. And then you're just like, well, I'm done with Winterfield Day. That's all I had to do there. A point of note there, that picture is the operating location that I was working for Winterfield Day. That's the antenna that's in the background there you can see, which is a Wolf River coil antenna that I'll talk about as we go, and I'll have some more pictures of my operation as we continue. I'm going to repeat the note from the last slide. You can use a logging only computer on power. So you could have mains power connected to a laptop or a computer for logging only. That's acceptable. But if at any time that computer is used for a digital mode or for doing something beyond logging that helps you out in the contest, you're most likely not going to be able to use mains power and still claim the bonus points for being using alternate power. So why no FT8? That's a question that comes up a lot on Winterfield Day. In fact, I asked it myself the first time I heard about Winterfield Day. I was thinking to myself, well, that seems like a fast way to make contacts. We'll just use FT8. And the reason for that is FT8 is not really a mode of operation for exchanging information. It's not a keyboard to keyboard chat type mode. It's not used for much more than just making contacts, making a lot of contacts relatively efficiently and fast as possible. So that's one of the reasons why FT8 is not used for all of you who have recently started using FT8. It's tempting to want to use it, but you can't use it for Winterfield Day. What you can do is you can use an alternate program called JS8 Call, which is built on FT8, and it works great. It's a keyboard to keyboard, more of a chat type messenger application that we use to make contacts, and it works fine. Some other worthwhile mentions are ALE, PSK31, and an old favorite, RTTY. Just keep in mind that if you're going to use these modes, you generally need someone on the other end, another computer or another radio that can pick up your exchange so that you can actually make contacts with people. I recommend if you're going to do Winterfield Day, you make a comms plan. So you sit yourself down, understanding about multipliers and running QRP or 100 watts. Sit down and kind of ask yourself, well, I've got these radios and I've got these antennas and I've got these batteries and I've got camping gear that will prevent me from being too cold out in the field. So ask yourself, what do you want to do? Well, here's just a simple flow chart for me. I have an ICOM IC705. It's QRP radio. Good news, it operates HF, VHF, and UHF. So cool, I can do all the HF fun things for the really long contacts, but then I can also pick up a couple fast points for VHF, UHF, and pick up some multipliers while I'm at it. It's very easy for me to bring an HF and a VHF, UHF antenna into the field with a QRP radio. They don't need to be, heavy material for an antenna, or I can have a roll-up antenna that'll do the same thing. So for example, with my end-fed half wave, which is an antenna that a lot of folks use for HF radio that kind of rolls up into a little wire winder, I can do multi-band, so I can pick up some multipliers. And I can use a roll-up J-pole, which is another antenna that I often pack for VHF, UHF, and I can work all the line of sight contacts that I want. And then in my pack, or if I'm backpacking, or even if I'm going with the family in the car, generally my radios all go in a backpack. And part of that includes a solar panel so that I can work radio throughout the weekend. And if I plan to operate 40, 20 meters VHF, UHF, that's kind of my plan. It's like, okay, I'll bring an antenna that is going to be a little bit better for 40 and 20 meters because I know those bands are always very popular. And of course, I'll try and splash in some VHF, UHF simplex. So here's another shot of my Winterfield Day setup. The computer on the left is the one that is running off of solar, and that is the radio next to it. The computer on the right is the computer I use to do my live stream, and that was running on power, but not connected to my HF radio or any of my radio that went into Winterfield Day. So not included in that at all. And even that, I believe I was running off of a backup battery. But regardless, everything, I tried to be as true to form as possible of the rules and stay off of mains power. So my 2020 Winterfield Day, again, we're rolling into Winterfield Day season. You got a couple of months to plan. So now's about the time to start thinking about it. I had my family and we all went down to San Diego. The kids had a good time splashing around in the beach a little bit because it was still kind of cold. It was January. Temperatures got into the lows of 60 degrees, possibly later at night. And I brought with me my Icon 705. So I was running QRP to try and capitalize on that 4x multiplier for contacts. I brought a vertical antenna that I already mentioned, but it's called a Wolf River Coil Antenna. It is a loaded vertical antenna, meaning that there is a coil in the bottom that you adjust, and that allows you to change the resonance point for the antenna, which band it operates on. I brought a 100-watt foldable solar panel, a Buddy Stick Power Mini, which is a name for a device that functions as a charge controller for the battery to solar panel situation. That allowed me to make sure that I had my station powered and was running at all times while still being able to have like an extra USB port to connect my logging computer and the computer that did the digital modes for me. The battery that I was using is a Nano 9 amp hour battery, and it was all connected, my radio and whatnot, to a pretty old by today's standards 2013 Panasonic Toughbook. Toughbooks are great if you're going to do winter field day. It's relatively weather resistant. The CFC2 line is still more than effective for amateur radio. You can find them on eBay from time to time. I believe I paid less than $300 or about $325 for mine. It runs Windows 10, and it's more than fast enough to run all of the ham radio software you'd want to do. So that's what I ended up going with. Here's some more pictures. You've seen the one on the dock already, but there's that Wolf River coil. Note that white kind of tube at the bottom with the white collar around it, and then the lines of metal. That lines of metal is an actual metal coil that's running from the top all the way to the bottom. And that white collar slides up and down, and it basically electrically shortens the antenna by bridging the bottom to where that collar point is. So as you slide it up and down, you're adding more turns of that coil as you go. So if you make it long, you're going to get more wire in the air, a part of your antenna, and that's going to lengthen the antenna, physically, electrically lengthen the antenna, and allow you to work on lower frequency bands. I spent a lot of time on 40 meters that weekend. And that seemed to do really well for me. Picture on the right is where my antenna ended up for pretty much the entire weekend. It just sat there on that rock. I did end up throwing some sandbags on each leg because it did start getting pretty windy. That was one thing I had to battle. If I had to do it again, I'd probably bring some headphones over the ear types that would allow me to hear the people on the radio a little bit easier, because it started to get a little loud even with the ocean and the wind and all that other fun stuff. So lessons learned on that one. So some suggested radios for doing winter field day, and this is just my opinion. You can take it with a grain of salt. Since winter field day does give you a multiplier for QRP, it's good to consider QRP radios that can connect to computers and do digital. That way you get to leverage this multi-mode multiplier capability that I kind of already mentioned. So you can do single sideband, and you could do JSA call or PSK31 or something along those lines. If you're a Morse code operator, well, there you go. You can do voice and you can do Morse code and you can do digital. Think of all the points you'd get from that multiplier. However, if you are going to consider a QRP radio, again, 5 watts, not a lot. So you really do need to focus on your antenna. Make sure that you have an antenna that you know very well is already going to perform for you. And that's kind of my big suggestion with QRP, is very much focus on the antenna. If you still want to go portable but do 100 watts, there aren't a lot of options in the portable space. The big obvious choice that a lot of people use, particularly for another radio event called Parks on the Air, we like to use the Yaesu FT891 for that. It is 100 watts, packs up very easy. It will also install into a car very easy, so you can just mount the head unit, bury the body somewhere, and run that way. Another option is the ICOM IC7100, but it is a bigger radio, so it may be harder to throw it in a backpack and take a hike. You may need to use a wagon or something that you pull behind you, or just plan to not walk very far. If you want to do more than 100 watts portable, I'm not really your guy. I don't know some good options there. The picture to the left is actually the ICOM IC705 on top of a 100 watt amplifier that I have used in the field. And that's generally when I'm going to be car mobile, or I'm going to be able to carry more stuff in the trunk of my car or my SUV, and I can bring an amp, no problem. And that amp, I ran that all weekend with a couple of 9 amp hour batteries, and I would switch. I'd have one battery on the solar panel, and the other on the radio running it. So that works out pretty well. Okay, so off-grid power. This is an important thing to consider regardless of doing Winterfield Day. If you're planning on going portable, if you're planning on doing parks on the air, or just having fun outdoors, going to a park, or just having a radio on you when you go on vacation or small little weekend trips, it's always nice to have a radio that you can quickly set up and get on the air with and have some fun. You should consider power though. And the first thing to start when you're considering that, particularly if you're going battery, which I'm assuming that's probably what you're going to think about doing, there's a battery calculator that I highly recommend. It's the 4 States Qrp Battery Calculator, and that is the URL. This calculator basically will factor in your radio receive draw, because your radio is pulling power from the battery when it's receiving, and the transmit draw. And then it'll factor in things like the mode of operation you're using, because some modes of operation draw more power when you are actively transmitting than other modes. So case in point, if you're doing voice, the subtleties in the human voice, if I just scream or whistle, I'm going to draw more power. But as my voice fluctuates up and down, it's going to vary how much power it draws. So generally, we're transmitting, or we're drawing less power to transmit single sideband. It'll also factor in how much of that time you are going to be transmitting versus listening. And on the left, you can see I'm saying I want a battery that has a duration needed of about 18 hours, or maybe over the course of a weekend. I'm going to be doing single sideband, and I expect to be transmitting about 30% of the time. My ICOM 705 has a receive draw, so the radio's on, not transmitting, just listening, at about 0.3 amps. And its transmit draw is 2.5 amps, which means if I want all of that in one battery, I need high 7s to 8 amp hours. But if I want some good reserve, it would be recommended to go with like a 15 or 16 amp hour. And you've probably got a happy medium in there of just saying, I'll just go with a 12 amp hour battery. You can offset this, though, by throwing a solar panel in the mix. Keep the battery topped off, charge your radio off of the charge controller that I mentioned, and then you can run way further into the night while the sun's down. Just put away the solar panel and get back to operating. And that means you can pack a smaller battery as well. So the panels that I generally use are these two. The 100 watt is the lower one with that orange bar that says Jackery. That's got a handle. It just opens up. It's got 2 legs that pop out of it, or you just lay it flat, connect it to your charge controller, connect to your battery, connect to your radio. That's all you need to do. And then the one that I'm really liking is above that. That's the one that I pack with me if I'm just going to be out having a little fun with radio, or if I'm going purely QRP. That is a Power Film Lightsaver Max. That includes a battery. The battery is built into the body of that, which makes it really easy to pack in with you. And also I bring a mini laptop. I bring a tiny laptop sometimes, which makes hard if you're doing a contest for a full 24 hours to operate on that little laptop, but easy if you're only doing like parks on the air or something that doesn't take you away from the comfort of a better computer, I guess, and a better keyboard for very long. So a couple of antenna recommendations, because antennas, again, are really important, particularly if you're going to do QRP. I argue they're important no matter what you're doing, no matter how much power you're putting out. Your antenna makes or breaks your station, even if you are outdoors. So make sure you consider that. It's still a very personal choice, and it's highly dependent on weather. So what you face out there is going to dictate some of your choices. But these are generally 4 antennas I recommend that I've all tested, and I really do like them. Now, I will point, I didn't make a note of it on the slides, but if you like to build antennas, you like to homebrew antennas, do it. Yeah, this is great. Absolutely build your own antenna. That's a wonderful thing to do. These options are just there for someone if they want, maybe they don't want to build an antenna, and that's okay too. But you can build an absolutely fine antenna for doing Winterfield Day on your own, and there are plans online for just about every one of these that we're going to talk about. You can pretty much build yourself. So the Soda Beams band hopper linked dipoles, they make 3 versions of this, a dual band, a tri-band. Is that right? three versions. Yeah. Dual band, tri-band, quad band. I have the tri-band, which includes 20 meters, 30 meters, and 40 meters. So for Winterfield Day, I'm not going to use 30 meters. That's part of the work bands. So I'll be doing 20 meters during the day and then 40 meters at nighttime. And I'll probably check 40 meters during the day as well. I used 40 meters most of my time last year for Winterfield Day, and it worked out really well. The Soda Beams is a inverted V dipole, meaning there's a pole in the middle, and then the legs of the dipole look like a triangle going back to ground. So each leg is a wire. That wire is a part of your antenna. Very easy to set up, gives you a full band. It's a linked dipole. So if you want to add a band or take a band off, you just clip or unclip the links together. So 20 meters is the shortest antenna. So you unclip all the links and you got 20. It's pretty big though. When you start to get to 80 meters, which is their quad band version, it starts to get really, really long. So you're going to need an appropriate size space and enough vertical height of that pole to give you the effectivity that you're looking for. Likely not very weather resistant, although these are made in the UK. It is a UK designer who developed these, and we know they have a lot of rain in the UK and some snow. So they handle it okay, but I don't know that I would want to leave it up all weekend in weather like that. I don't know. I haven't tested that, so it's hard for me to put my stamp of approval on it. For loaded vertical antennas, I've already mentioned the Wolf River Coil. I still like that antenna. I still think it's effective, but I've moved on to another antenna that's a bit easier to pack. It's called the Buddy Stick Pro. It's a tripod-based vertical antenna with a coil as well. It's similar. It's relatively easy to set up and adjust once you kind of learn how it works. I'll talk about some other things when I flip the camera over here, and very effective. They both work very well. I've found that if you are using the Wolf River Coil, that you should go ahead and buy one of those 18-foot telescopic whips. MFJ sells these. Wolf River now sells them as well. Make sure you buy one of those because it really improves your bandwidth on 40 meters. And it also is just completely resonant on 20 meters. So with that, 18-foot vertical, you can take the coil off completely, put that vertical on, and you're pretty much good on 20 meters, which is fantastic. And then last but not least, I always will carry, particularly for a contest, particularly if I'm going camping or I'm going out with the family where I'm not going to be able to quickly jump back home and grab another antenna because my primary antenna failed. I always bring an NFET half wave. An NFET half wave is a fantastic multi-band antenna. You will get most bands out of it. They can be thrown up into trees. And again, what that is your coax, your coaxial feed line connects to the box, the matching unit. It's called a 49-to-1 unun in the case of an NFET half wave. And then you'll have some length of wire that you've pre-cut for the bands you want to operate on. And that wire can be strung up into a tree or over something, get it up in the air as high as possible. But they work really well, regardless of generally how you get it up, just so long as you do get it up. It won't give you everything, though. You won't get all the bands of operation for Winterfield Day on it. So you're still going to have to do some work to figure out which bands it's the most effective on. And please, if you are going to go down this road of an NFET half wave, even a store-bought one or one you bought online, do test it out at home or at a park before Winterfield Day or any ham radio event. Get away from a structure or a building and test it out that way so you make sure it's good. And always another antenna you should pack, particularly if you're using a handheld, is a roll-up J-pole. It just will increase the length of your handheld radios and will generally make contacts a little bit easier for simplex.
Question.
Yes, question.
So we've got 4 high school students on tonight who just got their license.
Yes.
I'm just imagining their brains are rolling. And we probably will do Winterfield Day at McBride High School in Long Beach this year.
Oh.
But this will be the first time for all of these kids to experience this. And I was able to follow along pretty well with your suggestions. But can you imagine a brand new high school student who just got their radio license trying to figure out all of the antennas and how to learn about, actually, most of our high schools have all of these antennas in our radio rooms. So we're lucky there. But for them to understand how every Winterfield day is a different story, and you would go from one antenna to another antenna until it started to work. Or how does that yeah, because I know from Summerfield Day that we would, switch from one antenna to another, and then, oh, it was like amazing. We had all these contacts.
So I think the question is more along the lines of how do I choose which antennas that I might want to use? Is that kind of the question?
Well, I think you set up as many antennas as you can and then just switch which one works.
Kinda, maybe. I mean, sure, have a backup.
Yeah.
For field day, ARRL field day, the thing you probably have going on with you is that you probably have many more operators and you're operating on different bands, and you probably want some level of isolation from other stations, working on those bands. And so, yes, the thing to keep in mind, and I apologize for everybody new, again, make sure you ask questions. But the one thing to keep in mind is VHF, UHF radios, they're line of sight, right? You both have a walkie-talkie handheld and you can talk to each other. For HF, though, HF is based off of the day-night cycle. So oftentimes bands that are good during the day, like 20 meters, starts to fall off at night. So you would likely switch at some point from 20 meters to 40 meters. So that's why I like that Soda Beams dipole is pretty good, because you can be on 20 meters during the day. And then at some point, as the contacts start to roll off and you can kind of hear the noise start to fall out on your radio, you can switch over to 40 meters and continue to make contacts that way. Does that help? Is that getting close?
I think that helps.
No,
I wanted to slow things down for the 4 high school students that are listening, because they might be feeling completely overwhelmed.
Well, I will say, if you're a brand new ham, this is way deep. We threw you right into the deep end. So that's a very true statement. The good news, it sounds like you've got a club who's going to come out to your high school and do Winter Field Day with you. So you're going to have a wonderful group of hams that will help give you, actual guidance in person, which is going to be extremely valuable. Now, a value of doing Winter Field Day, if you're a new technician and coming out with a club, is that you can use the call sign for that club and the privileges of that club, which will allow you to get on the high frequency bands and make those super long distance contacts that we're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
But if you're a new ham and you're doing this alone, and maybe you're going on vacation or something, I don't know, and you're going to be alone, no big deal. You're just going to stick with your handheld. You're going to stick within your technician privileges, which is going to give you 2 meters and 70 centimeters. If you have a radio that can do 10 meters and 6 meters, well, you can get on there too, and you can use those. And those probably do require an appropriate antenna for 10 meters. But I'll tell you what, the rule I always say is, if the option is no antenna or a not great antenna, or no, I'm not going to try playing radio, or yes, I'm going to try, always go with the try. Always go try the antenna out, regardless of what your situation is. Give it a shot. You'd be surprised. You'll often make good contacts no matter what you do.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, wonderful. And I'll take questions at the end. I was trying to go a little bit fast to get the 45 minutes, to try and fit into 45 minutes for everybody as we work through the slides, but I'm almost done. So then we can take questions. All right, so portability, was there another one? Another question? Oh, okay, it was just a noise picked up. So portability versus effectiveness. Those are a group of radios that I own on the left-hand side. Those are all small radios. They fit in my hand. Well, they're QRP, right? They put out very low power. Again, for the new hams, those radios basically put out the same power as the handhelds that you may use at home. 5 watts, not a lot of power, right? But I mainly like packing the small, low-powered radios because they're very tiny. They fit into a backpack, they disappear, and I can still carry my kids' sweaters and extra food because I've got 2 boys, and they always need something. So I still have space to pack what I need. But for Winter Field Day, you're really incentivized to do QRP in some cases. So that's something to think about. Sounds like for a club situation, you might not do that. That's okay too. Keep in mind, though, that QRP is still a big challenge, even during a contest weekend. What can happen is if you're only putting out the 5 watts, it may be harder for other stations to hear you. And if there are a lot of stations out there, if there's lots of people all talking at once, think about that. You're in a room and you're trying to get somebody to listen to you, but you're kind of talking like this. This is as much power as I have. And I'm in a really loud dinner restaurant, right? Becomes difficult to get heard. So just keep in mind, it is complicated or sometimes a challenge. But make sure you have good antennas. That's the big takeaway here is have good antennas and be comfortable. Winterfield day, you likely will be colder even in Southern California than you normally are, particularly if you're outdoors. So make sure that you are comfortable. For me, I like to add a personal challenge. This goes a little bit outside of what you do for Winterfield day, but I like to do a digital mode called WinLink. WinLink is email over amateur radio. And with WinLink, I'm able to send out emails and check periodically my emails while being disconnected from the internet, which again, I view as just a personal challenge. It's something I like to do. But if you can splash that into your Winterfield day fun over the weekend, I think it's good practice. Last but not least, and this is, I think, my last slide, plan and pack for the weather. You know your weather, you know where you're going. Please do research it and pack appropriately for it. I was in the Boy Scouts, and we always advocated the importance of shelter and wearing the appropriate attire for the situations that you find yourself in. Winterfield day is no exception. In fact, sitting around kind of all day after you get everything set up and just making contacts, you get cold pretty fast. So make sure you have layers. You're wearing layers. You stick to synthetic fabrics. Synthetic thermal wicking base layers are really nice. It helps pull the moisture away from you so that your body can effectively get rid of it and dry it off. A synthetic shirt, overshirt, and pant, always synthetic. Down puffer jackets for when you get cold, layer up. Warm head covering, absolutely required. You lose the most amount of heat from your head, neck, and your feet areas. So make sure that you keep those covered. Warm, and this is a tough one for hams. You need to find warm gloves, but they have to be thin enough that you can continue to manipulate the radio. So this may take a little time to find a good example of that. A buff is something I like to carry. It's a neck gaiter. It goes around your neck, but you can pull it over your face or cover your head with it, which is always nice. And then I generally pack a down sleeping quilt and matching inflatable ground pad if I'm going to be tent camping. And so those are some pictures of stuff that I normally carry. Okay, Winterfield day. There you go. Do we have any questions? And for you new hams, now's the time. If you got questions, did I ask you? Did I say crazy things that don't make any sense? Hit me up. Let's ask some questions, and I'm happy to answer them. I see Dawn. Oh, it looks like I'm share screened. Let me flip the view here. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so who had their hand up? Was it Dawn?
It was me. This is Don, WA6GVI. What do you do for a ground, Josh?
Good question. So if you are running a dipole, you don't need a ground for the antenna. For your radio, it really depends on what you're bringing out. If your QRP, it may not always be the best recommendation, but you can generally get away without a ground to that radio. If you're doing something for field day and you're going to have lots of radios, like 100-watt transmitters, it's generally a good idea to have a ground solution. For that, go to Home Depot, get yourself an 8-foot ground rod, hammer that thing into place, and then run some ground wires for that. I'd use the straps too, the flat braided straps. Use those when you can, particularly for interconnecting devices to the radio.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Josh, there was a question on chat.
Okay.
Would you suggest more than one source of radio, receiver, and transmitter?
Oh, this is a good question. So I'm not generally an advocate of having a all-in-one radio, a shack in the box, as we call it, because if that radio were to go bad on you, well, then you're done, right? You've got all your eggs in one basket. I think it's not too hard of a stretch to include a handheld, a decent handheld in your kit that you're bringing. So you'll at least be able to do 2 meters and 70 centimeters. This is also just good preparedness as well, because you can call for help if you ever were in a situation where you were hiking and you needed help. It's good to have a good handheld on you. Other than that, having a backup radio is only advisable if you're able to carry it, I would argue, or if you have another person coming with you, then they may bring their radio, and that's a spare of some kind too. I hope that answers the question. Does that answer the question? I saw Ian Jodway says, is alternate power like solar? Yes. So wind power, water power, solar power, right? Those are all alternate power sources. Oh, and I see Becky got it. So there you go, Becky. You get the points for answering that one in the chat. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Robert has his hand up, and then Ryan.
Okay, Robert, go for it.
Yeah. Could you get away with a 3-foot ground rod for a field day situation instead of 8-foot? Once you put that 8-foot in there, it's pretty hard to get those suckers out.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I know a lot of people, what they'll actually do is they'll lay the 8-footer out horizontally, and they'll bury it maybe 6 inches. And that's a lot easier to pull out, right? And then you can tap. So 3 foot is better than nothing. It kind of goes back to my statement on antennas. I'd rather you put up any antenna than have no antenna. I'd rather you have any ground rod than no ground rod. But 3 feet might be on the low side, but go with it.
What have you used instead? Say 3 or 4 3-foots and linked it together.
Bonded them. That would probably be okay. Oh, I just lost my camera. Hold on 1 second.
All right. Thank you very much.
That happens. I'll be right back. Hold on. Let's see if I'm there. I'm still here. I just lost my camera. Don't know what happened there. Well, why don't you ask the next question while I'm fiddling around with this?
I think Ryan had his hand up, and then Liam.
Yeah, I do, but I'll let Liam and Sophia go first.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
I'll come back after them.
Okay, Liam.
All right then. So what antenna that's fairly portable and that can work for dual band 2 meter 440 would you recommend to extend the range of one of these things?
Definitely the roll-up J-pole. Now, the roll-up J-pole is a cool antenna because you basically will hang it on like a tree limb, and it'll have, maybe 6 feet of coax, thin coax, and you just connect that to the end of your radio, and that will greatly improve your capability.
Okay, just wondering because even though it's supposed to be 5 watts, I can't even seem to get as far as the Keller repeater I've tried before, and I'm just wanting to know what I can do to possibly get further than that on what I have for now.
Where are you located physically?
I'm in Long Beach in the El Dorado Park Estates. It's
I know where you're at.
Over the 605.
Are you doing this from inside your house or outside, out of curiosity?
Inside. I've not.
If you go outside,
tried outside yet.
Yeah, if you go outside and it improves, it's possible that it's just your home not helping you at all with your signal. If you wanted, so in your case, I was answering a question as though I was doing Winterfield Day and I was going to be sitting on a park bench. I'd put up the roll-up J-pole. If you wanted to have something that's permanently attached to your handheld, go look up Signal Stuff Signal Stick. The Signal Stick antenna is one I really recommend.
That I have heard you recommend on your videos before, and I'm thinking of getting that one at some point. But I'm asking as in for a long-term solution, does possibly to mount on my roof at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it might be, and I'm pretty sure it is mainly an antenna issue with the Baofeng as far as I know, because
probably
I'm on the 2nd floor of my house, right at the outside window of it. So yeah.
Okay.
But I'll look into the roll-up J-pole. Thank you.
Yeah, if you've got the capacity to put up an actual permanent antenna on your home.
I do.
Almost any antenna that you get up on the roof or the eaves of your home and connected to your radio is going to perform better than the little rubber duck antenna that's on the Baofeng that you have right now. A couple of standout ones are Diamond and Comet make outdoor home antennas of the 5 foot, about 5 feet on their ground plane. So they have like little rods that are coming off the sides of the bottom. Those are great. That's basically what I use at home. They're wonderful.
All right, cool. Oh, good.
What was that? Was that Robert?
Yes. Dr. Ed Wong on eBay puts out a really nice J pole that you put into a piece of PVC. It's not real noticeable, so you won't have problems with your neighbors. And it works. I use it in Arizona, and in my home in Arizona, and I get all over the valley, and I reach really, really well with it. It's a relatively inexpensive antenna. It's unintrusive, and you don't have a lot of problem with wind. Like in Arizona, you have a lot of wind. So that might be one you might look at. It's on eBay, Dr. Ed Wong.
Ed Fong.
My apologies.
Yeah, great antenna too. Great guy, great antenna. He's available. They're available on eBay.
All right, cool. We'll check those out. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Ness. I wanted to ask, I guess, more about club-specific stuff, because something I've found that's just been a common problem among both the ham radio clubs at Sato and at McBride is that mostly, although we do plan on doing a lot of fun events and so on, it's usually hard to figure out or plan all of that, get information, and then actually do it. Like a really common problem that I think it was only this year that we sort of handled at Sato was actually getting people licensed. And then later we did we ended up doing a QSO party at McBride, and then we also did we also participated in an earthquake drill at our school.
The shakeout.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So
yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to find out more information about these things. And I know it's always helpful to have, like a speaker tell us about different events, just how to handle radios. But I think, in at least in Sato, and what I'm assuming is happening in McBride as well, is that we're just kind of having problems finding out where exactly to start or what things to consistently try and learn. So I guess, I don't know,
okay, so
any
you're
tips about that.
You're interested in like ham radio projects that you could do as a club together, or ham radio events?
I think events would be, well, the best for us to know about first, because I think that's where most of our members have started getting experience. Projects would also be great too, because the president and I'm the vice president of Sato's Ham Radio Club. We're, thinking about, getting some more of our officers involved and, planning out projects so that it's not just the president and I, looking for things or only asking Miss Day and so on.
Is it, you have generals? Any, is everybody a technician? Do you have generals? Do you have extras that are members?
We do have one general,
okay.
Like our supervisors are extras. So that would be Mr. Sherwood and then Miss Devin Day.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody else, they're basically all generals, or sorry, all technicians. And pretty much everybody in the club has licenses. So that's about 7 people total now.
Great. I mean, some things that just jump out to me. There's tons of things you can do. I mean, contests like these, you should participate in them if you can. But you don't have to have a contest weekend to have a weekend or just a day of ham radio. I highly recommend you guys look into Parks on the Air. Have you looked into Parks on the Air?
I think this is the first time I've heard of that. So
okay, Parks on the Air is it's kind of like a game. There are state and national parks that are designated as acceptable, I guess, in the Parks on the Air system. In fact, I'll pull up the website while I'm talking here. And if you go to the park and you make 10 contacts at that park, you activate that park for points. And it can be at any time during the week, weekend, whatever. And it's a great way to kind of get outdoors, get radio set up. You invite everybody on the club out there and you just roll through people. Generally, you need to be a general if you're going to operate on the HF spaces, but you can activate on HF as a technician. You just will have to stick to like 10 meters and whatnot. So let me do this really fast. So this is Parks on the Air. This is the map. I just did this recently. Why am I? That's not where we're at all, guys. Where am I? Oh, okay, there we go. We're way too far north. Okay, so all those little yellow dots are parks. So as we get closer to Long Beach, hey, look at that. We've got a couple of parks here. So I'm going to zoom in. Let's see. The last one that I activated was the Seal Beach Bolsa Chica wetlands, the National Reserve or the Ecological Reserve. And so all you do is you just go there and they've got park benches and you set up and you make contacts, you make 10 and you get the points. You upload your logs to this system and you get added to their list and start tallying a score. There's people that are doing POTA every day and you kind of become the contest station because there are people that want to make contact with you. You're activating the park and you say, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to make contacts. And then you'll have people coming in over the radio to make contacts with you. And you can activate parks on VHF, UHF. It's just a lot harder. You do want that HF, further contacts. Let's see, a couple. What's that?
No, it's just again, thank you so much for the information. And then definitely we need to start looking more into just like events or these kind of little, I wouldn't say contests, but I guess you could call them that.
Another
go ahead.
Another interjection towards that. Do you guys have like a weekly check-in net for the operators?
It's we came up with a net, but we just haven't really implemented it to be weekly. So
Okay, you can either implement your own or the club here, the one that Richard and Devin are part of, whatnot, every Friday at 6:30, we check in on the K6CHE repeater. Any technician can access that repeater, and at least it gives them a chance to get out their radio and get more comfortable with it.
I will keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
And I'll just say, since you guys are all local to me too, you can email me and I can help you out with some of that stuff. At least provide you good information to go if you're interested in pursuing some different events or whatever. The last one I'll mention is, where's this guy? There he is. Hold on one second. Fox hunting or radio direction finding. Have you heard of this at all?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Although, yeah.
Yeah. So with very little money, you can build a radio direction finding Yagi antenna, and you can build a beacon out of a Baofeng pretty much, and that'll allow you basically have someone go hide it in a park. This beacon, the Fox, if you will, and then you kind of let everybody start at the same location, and like a race, they all kind of run to find the beacon first, and that's the game. Of course, make sure that you're looking into trying out FM satellites. Since you are technicians, you definitely want to try and do that. You don't need anything more than 2 Baofengs to be preferred, 2 cheap and expensive HTs that do FM, and 2 Yagi antennas, like a tape measure Yagi. And you can follow the low Earth orbit satellites and make contacts with your technician license. You don't need anything more than that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm very glad to hear that there's a couple of high school clubs that's doing ham radio. That's fantastic.
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, we're the only ones around, so.
Very good. What other questions do we have?
I just had a real quick question. QRP, if you have a radio capable of doing 100 watts, but during the entire contest portion, it's set at low power, which is 5 watts, does that count as QRP multiplier, or do you have to have a specific QRP radio in order to qualify for that?
Nope, that's fine. If you set the power to the appropriate, then you're good. And I did say 5 watts maximum carrier is what they consider QRP. So keep it at 5 watts and you're good to go.
Is that out of the radio or out of the antenna if you have gain?
Out of the radio.
Okay.
I was going to say, that takes all the fun out of it. You drag that Yagi all the way out there and you're not going to use that gain? Come on.
But 5 or 10? I thought it was under 10.
It's 5, specifically 5. It calls out 5. So right here, let's enhance. There you go. So QRP is classified CW. Oh, there you go. 10 for phone and digi. So I'm glad you asked that question. So 5 watts for CW Morse code and 10 for phone or digital modes.
So SOTA activations?
Say that again.
SOTA activations? Summit's on there.
Yeah. What about it? I love it. Do that.
Just a recommendation for some of the students.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The only closest, we've got a couple of close ones. Is it Shabaram Park over?
There's one in Palo Verde.
Oh, there you go. Okay, do Palo Verde PV, and then you got Shabaram Park and San Juan Hill. Those are all one pointers. And then if you want the much taller mountains, you're going to have to go north a bit. Get in the San Gabriels. Oh, Summits on the Air is similar to Parks on the Air, but you only need 4 contacts to activate a summit. You need 10 for Parks on the Air.
I think Bill Bradley has a question.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'd like to say you've been talking about the roll-up J-pole, and for these young people, it's really easy to make. You can find the information online, and I know I was stuck in a cellar in one of the hospitals for a hospital drill, and my radio wouldn't get out. I put on my J-pole, my roll-up J-pole, and all I did was drape it over a plastic box, and it worked just fine.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out before, but after that, I could. So it's really worth doing.
And it's a very, well, if you built your own, then Bill, you can probably say how much it cost you, but they're very inexpensive to make. Did you build your own?
Yes, I used a piece of my old TV twin lead.
How much did it cost you to think total if you had to put a dollar amount on it?
Nothing.
just the antenna connector, right?
Yeah, I had the TV lead in, and I had about 3 or 4 feet of cable out there and the connector on there, and that's it. It's really simple. And I like to give you kudos, Josh.
Oh, thank you.
You did a video on with the trash cans.
Oh, the EMP?
EMP, yes.
Yes.
I broke 2 of them. I've got them all loaded, and I found I need more. It's really, really nice.
That's fun. Thank you for that. And I'm glad it's working for you. Well, I hope we never find out if they work or not. I mean, I think that they provide the appropriate attenuation, but yeah, there you go. Very good. Thank you, Bill. It looks like Gilbert, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I have two basic small questions. One back to Bill. How did you test your antenna once you built it?
How did I test it?
Did you just hook it up and go, or did you use an antenna tester to see that you were on the meters and stuff that you needed to work that?
I used my meter on that.
Okay, so you have an antenna tester. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and the second one is for Josh. Earlier you mentioned the single sideband frequency, and I don't have it in my mind. I think it was 460 point something, or 160.520. But anyway, is that good for all over the country? If I go to New Mexico and call, is that good for there too?
Oh, you're talking about the simplex for VHF,
Yes,
UHF,
yes,
the
yes.
calling frequency. Yeah. So you can look this up, national calling frequency. It's 146.520, 2 meters. And that is good against the continental United States. I believe it's actually North America that covers. And if you go to 70 centimeters, that's 446.000 megahertz. And if you want a really fun time and you're going camping, you're going hiking, you're driving cross country, look up what's called the Wilderness Protocol. And it goes right along with your simplex frequencies. Get those programmed in your radios, and have a little card that reads what the Wilderness Protocol is, and follow it. It's very, very helpful, very handy.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I will go ahead and throw this over because I didn't really show you the radios. These are the radios and some of the gear I take. But one thing I didn't put in the slides, I do sometimes carry this. This is an antenna analyzer. So the antenna coax feed right here, and you just use this to show what your SWR is, or it'll do phase angle and reactance. So you can actually get a really good idea of how your antenna is doing. For the question that we got earlier about field day antennas, just set them all up and try them and use the one that works. Well, if you got one of those, that'll help you narrow down which is the one you want to use. That's for sure. So you might want to consider if you're a club, maybe get a club antenna analyzer. I think it's something that you should have.
Well, what is the brand?
Rig Expert, and they make a variety of them. The things to keep in mind with antenna analyzers is they get more expensive as they are capable of testing higher frequency antennas. So the higher you go up into the gigahertz space, then you're talking about $400, $500, $600 and up. If you keep it within the HF space, like 6 meters through 160 meters, you can get them for a couple $100. They're and you can get them used. The cheapest game in town, though, let me grab it. Hold on.
If you want real expensive, they do have what's called a Nano VNA, Vector Network Analyzer.
This is it right here.
Yeah. Those you can get for under $100, but that's what I have, and they work very well.
They work. That's the best way to put this. They work. They do. They're kind of complicated. They're a little fiddly to work with, and I don't like using them in the field. I think they're kind of a pain to use in the field personally.
But it's better than nothing.
Correct. Correct. And it's I don't know, 5 times less expensive than the Rig Expert that's sitting next to it.
I think Sophia was waiting for a question.
We got somebody with a microphone by their mouth. I think I can hear them.
No, I'm good.
No, it's not you, Sophia. I think it's someone else. It's okay. Sophia, go ahead.
Oh, actually, no. I didn't really have any
Oh.
questions. So.
Did somebody have their hand up?
Yes.
Robert, go ahead.
Yes. You're talking about the rollaway J-pole. Is it possible? I have a VX, 2 VX6s, and I'm capable of a tri-band. Is it possible to make it one of the J-poles so that will cover the all three bands, the 220 and the 70 and the 40?
I don't know. I'm Googling it. Let's find out together. I don't know. I've never even thought about that.
That was a tough one. That's a tough
Yeah.
one.
So
I know that Mr. Fong does one, but it's designed to be put inside of a thing. But I was wondering about a roll up for, going out into outside. I imagine I could take it out of it could be taken out of the pipe. But I was just curious, has anybody ever built one on their own?
well, that's a very good question. So I'm on Ed Fong's website here. Oh, and sure enough, sometimes these ham radio websites, not the
Yeah, he doesn't advertise that. He doesn't advertise that one on eBay. Something about costs or something involved.
Yeah, so he does have the tri-band base antenna, which you're right. It comes complete. Okay. Dual band. Ed Fong is a ham that replies to messages. So I'd email him and ask.
All right, that sounds like a good idea, because I do have one of his roll up J poles, and it works real well.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if I'm cheap, if I can figure out a way to build one myself, I'd love to do it.
You might be able to Google plans for how to make one. They may be available online. You might want to check that out too.
I put a link in chat from Ed Fong that discusses the 220 as well.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, any final questions? Josh, I know that someone asked whether you had, whether your PowerPoint presentation was available, basically all the points and the information you had in there. Is that available anywhere?
Well, it'll be available when I send it to Tim.
Okay.
Since I got his email, and then he could put it where it needs to be, right?
Okay.
Well, you can do that, right, Tim?
I see him nodding his head.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Whatever's easiest for you guys. Yeah, just let me know. I can provide it.
Okay,
So yeah,
thank you.
I hope they were helpful. And yeah, again, for all the new hams that are in there, I appreciate that we might have just hit you with the fire hose. I apologize. But if you have any comments, I'll leave my contact information on the slides, and then you can just reach out if you have questions.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Josh. We appreciate it. That's helpful for all of us to get started and get planning for Winterfield Day this coming January.
Yeah, and if you guys do something, send me a message or let me know how it goes, and maybe I'll run over. And if I'm in the area, I'm planning on maybe doing a trip again. But if I'm in the area, maybe I'll run over and see how it's going.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you very much. Very helpful.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Bye.
Thank you,
Okay.
Josh.
Club business. David, can you want to give us? I know you got to look at the Queen Mary. Do you want to give us a quick rundown what you guys saw? How she's doing?
Sure, be glad to do that. Bob Shaw and myself went aboard on Tuesday morning under escort for a limited amount of time, solely for the purpose of inspecting the station and being sure that everything was up to snuff. I'm pleased to report that the station is holding up well, being under mothballs. We powered up everything. Everything worked fine. The internet signal has been turned off to the computer there, so that's something we'll probably have to renegotiate when we get back to full-time operation. So I couldn't update the computer, but that's of no consequence because we're not there. And the other very minor issue is that one of the antennas had been partially disassembled by persons unknown, I assume to allow them easier access to a nearby piece of machinery that they needed to address. So that's taken, that would take about an hour to fix. Other than that, everything is holding up well. We set it up for winter time and the potential of rain and a little rain dripping inside. I was not really able to get any clues from the caretaker guy about anything more that may be happening with the ship. The best thing that you can do is just keep an eye on the news. The Long Beach Post seems to have about the best coverage and the most frequent articles about the ship and about what's going on. So I'd keep an eye on the Long Beach Post. Return for questions.
Maybe memory. The antenna that's partially disassembled, was that partially disassembled the last time you guys were there for access? I seem to remember that this isn't the first time that was.
That's the Gap Titan vertical. I did mention that before. I thought I'd mention it again. It's the same antenna. It's only one that's been partially disassembled.
Okay, so it didn't get assembled and re-disassembled. It's still disassembled, but all the parts are still there.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, David. And before we get to final announcements of activities or anything, we do have to go over nominations for officers. Elections are next month, December. Well, nominations are the nominations are on the floor. That's our technical terminology. The floor is open to nominations. They'll be open tonight and also probably the beginning of December's meeting. We do need basically all of our officers, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. I am termed out as president. Bill is termed out as vice president. We cannot continue. We cannot be elected again into those positions. So if anyone would like to nominate themselves or nominate someone else for president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, or director, please do so.
Point of order, Madam President.
Yes, Endev.
Not to throw Gil under the bus, but I believe he can run one more year, right? Because he was appointed the first year. So he's only sat one election. I think he can run the second election.
Okay, would you like to nominate him? You said he could be appointed?
No, he was appointed the first time.
Oh, okay.
So he can run the second, he can run again this year.
Okay.
Unless he wants me to nominate him, I'll nominate him.
All right.
I
Gil, would
will,
you accept that nomination?
definitely take the position.
Okay.
Therefore, I nominate Gil Vernon.
All righty.
I second nomination.
And that's for treasurer, for the record.
Okay. So great. 1 out of 4. That's good. And let's see, I believe Morgan can run again as secretary. And I don't see him here, but I believe he did say that he was willing. Not to say that we wouldn't, welcome some good, healthy competition. So if anyone wants to run for secretary, that's fine. President, vice president, any suggestions, any volunteers? I believe to be nominated, you have to be 18 or older and a member since last March.
I'll nominate Morgan
Okay.
for secretary.
Well, if anyone nominate who?
Morgan for secretary.
Okay, alrighty.
And I'll
Okay.
second that if he takes it.
Okay.
That's what he gets for not being here.
Then nominate him for president.
That's a good point.
I was thinking about nominating Bill for president.
No, no, I've got too many things going right now,
Understand.
but thank you.
Okay, if anyone has a change of heart or another idea, you can always email board@ARALB, that is BOARD@ARALB.org. So please think on it. If you have any ideas or you want to volunteer, let us know, because we're going to ask this question all over again on next meeting.
Does the board have a plan B if nobody volunteers?
Officially, no, not yet. We're still working on it.
All right.
Unofficially, we are working on it.
Yeah, unofficially we're working on it, but we were being optimistic and hoping that someone would come in there at the last minute. If you have any suggestions, let us know, and board@ARLB.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not running. I've done my tour of duty.
Yeah, no, I meant suggestions for Plan B.
Gilbert's got his hands up.
Yes, Gilbert.
Well, I think we're discussing the fact that if we get our president, they can appoint people. So that would be a good, that's a typical plan B that we would not prefer to do. It would be to people who want to do the job to step up.
Yeah. So, all righty. Well, again, we will discuss that again at the December meeting. And of course, our December meeting is basically all of your stories. So if anyone has any stories they want to share about, their radio experiences or a special contact, one suggestion was, what have I done on radio the last year? So come and bring your own experiences and share with all of us. That'll be our subject for next month. In the meantime, let's see, this Sunday, as always, the first Sunday of the month or the Sunday after the general meeting is always the Slow Scan TV. Skeet and Endif are always there, and I think Gil and Ryan usually pop in. So if anyone wants to go to that and learn how to send photographs over the radio, that would be this Sunday at, is it 7:30, guys? Or 7?
7:30.
Yeah.
7:30 on the K6 CHE repeater.
And if I may interject, the meeting next week with stories, as well
Next
as
month?
next month, as well as the Slow Scan TV, as well as whatever. Any students from McBride or Sato are more than welcome to join us for this. Slow Scan TV is something you can do with nothing more than a cell phone and a Baofeng, and send and receive pictures over ham radio as well. To start out, you can just listen. I know quite a few people started that way, just tuned into the channel, put their cell phone next to it, and had the cell phone listen to the radio. And so any events we do, the schools are more than welcome to join in, and that could be a learning experience for you guys. Plus, it's getting to know us out there on the air, and we're more than willing to help you guys in your amateur radio journeys.
Yep, I agree, totally. And then let's see, this coming Monday, the Aries Seal Beach and Long Beach VA clubs, they have a joint meeting, and let's see, who is there? Oops, I had it ready until I wasn't paying attention. They're having a meeting, which is via Zoom. Their speaker will be Pam Reed Presnall, and she'll be talking about 211, which is, 911. 211 is where you get all sorts of information on different services. So it's called Help Starts Here. So that's 6:30, November 8th on Monday. She has forwarded the Zoom link to us. So if anyone is interested in listening to it and you want the Zoom then just go ahead and email zoom@aralb.org. zoom@aralb.org, and we can send you the link.
And also, Tim posted it in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Okay, so let's see, and okay, and this weekend, don't forget to fall back. Set your clocks back an hour. Get an extra hour of sleep. And it's always a good idea to double check all of your batteries, radio batteries, smoke alarm batteries, backup power. And, as long as you're thinking about it, check your emergency supplies, find out how old that food is that you set aside for emergency, and replace it if you need to. So any other announcements? Anybody else have announcements? Anything they want to say? Share?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Andy?
Yeah, we're coming to the end of the year, and as you know, I've had this project going on to kind of recognize the Long Beach Radio Research Association, which was a club that was founded in June 1921. So it's 100 years ago. There's not a whole lot of information about them, but next month I'll have like a 2-minute, 3-minute kind of PowerPoint to kind of, explain who they were.
Cool.
Like I said, there's not a whole lot of history about them, but it's just enough. Anyway, I have been operating on VHF and specifically satellite using the KE6LB call sign. Hi, Bill. Which is the secondary club call. And Tim and Edgar have helped me on HF with FT8, and I've been doing FT8. So right now I'm about just over, we are over 500 contacts in Logbook of the World. 400 and some of them are confirmed. But the good news is from my own personal project, I confirmed 100 grid squares on satellite. So we got the 100 VUCC award for KE6LB.
Wow,
So,
good job.
I'm happy about that. And now, last week, Ryan, myself, and a couple other people went out to the desert to work the CQLYDX contest under the KE6LB call sign. We added a couple of other new countries, but we just couldn't compete with those high-powered stations. So we made about 32, 33 contacts altogether. It was not the best radio day, but it was a good time out in the desert, right, Ryan?
Yes, sir. I had fun.
Absolutely, so did I. And then I'm hoping, I don't know if anybody out here for this month, because it's the CQLYDX CW edition Morse code. Any competent Morse code operators want to use the call sign and try and get our QSO numbers up? I know Bob's not here. He probably wouldn't do it because he'd rather use his own call sign. But if anybody's interested in running the CQLYDX Morse code edition using the K6LB call sign, I'd love to have somebody competent on Morse code help out. I mean, I can do a little bit of it, but I'm not a Morse code guy in any shape or form. Thank you, Madam President.
Mm-hmm. Any other announcements before we sign off for the night?
Just a quick side note, competent CW operator plus kind of board member plus future in the title ship. Anybody heard from Michael Nadal lately?
Yeah, he's alive.
Okay. I know he's a competent CW and he does enjoy doing CW, so that would be my suggestion for there. And I do remember when I joined the club, he was very outgoing and approachable to people about joining the club. And I just wanted to throw it out there that if anybody talks to him, maybe put a little bug in his ear to maybe not necessarily president, but a director or somebody that could possibly be a friendly, outgoing face to new people joining the club. So just figured I'd put that out.
I'll reach out to him. He crossed my mind, but I know he doesn't have any equipment at home. He may need to use his brother's equipment, but I'll ask him.
Okay, him or his brother. They might have fun doing a weekend of it.
Yes, true. All right, I'll reach out to him. Thanks.
Okay, last chance. Any final announcements? Okay, then thank you all for coming. Welcome, McBride and Sato School kids. Welcome to come again and participate in any of our activities. And everyone else, again, thank you for coming, and we will adjourn at 8:32. Oh, and if anyone wants to, we'll stay on